proud. But it was the Igbo spirit that touched him, because he had Ironsi on his palm.
Well, I would scarcely say that he was a coward, because they didn't have this history of coups.
Giving them money, this is for Christmas, I'm going to Esauki. Tomorrow, when I'm coming on Boxing Day, I'm going to be here. So they all still had the Christmas money my dad had given them when they brought my dad's corpse inside. So they were so shocked.
He had been there earlier.
He had been there like 2 hours before.
When he brought his elder brother.
When he brought his elder brother for admission. And then my husband had gone to tell his younger brother that my dad had been shot. So my husband went to pick my Uncle Dele. So as Uncle Dele got there, he fainted. So there were 3 gay brothers, the dead one, the dying one, and the fainted one.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
So the point is that when the assassins came, Bola's security men were not around.
They said they were not around. They had locked my brother up, so nobody knew if indeed they were there, and they let those ones go in and do their work. But the excuse they gave was that they were not there. That's the excuse.
All of them?
All of them. And then 64 rounds of ammunition was locked up inside a cupboard.
Who locked it up?
The security detail.
So they were not armed when they left?
They were not armed when they left. They were not armed at any time. They did not plan to be armed. They had disarmed themselves.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Your dad was a Zikist.
He was a Zikist, yeah.
Your grandfather was an Awoist.
And grandmother was an Awoist.
How do you reconcile this?
Well, he was rebellious. Just the way I also rebelled against him when he went to MPN and I remained in UPN. And at the point we're almost not on speaking terms in the house. And my daughter also rebelled against me. My daughter is a Milocon. I'm not a Milocon.
And he never mobilized his team around the project.
Forget about that.
He didn't do that?
No.
Did he do that towards Tinubu?
No. Well, he didn't do that for Shibajo. I think Tinubu outsmarted him.
Tinubu did?
Yeah, I think he outsmarted him.
He didn't support Tinubu?
I'm not sure he was a Tinubu's fan.
So what happened?
Very odd. So my children were like, Grandma. So my son went to the study. I thought my mom was there, because in the study there's a bathroom, and my mom wasn't there. Grandma, on my dad's side, there are 2 wings of the house. My mom has one side, my dad has one side. Grandma. Then I heard my mom's voice faintly say, yes. So on my mom's door, the key was outside. So my son was the one who actually opened the door and found that it was locked. So he just undid the key. As he undid the key, Muiwa just leapt out and said, Daddy, I heard a shot. I'm like, what? Because I didn't even go to my dad's side. I was going to my mom's side first and then going to my dad's. Muiwa just ran out.
So they were locked in by the assassins?
The assassins locked my mom, Muiwa's wife, my uncle's wife, who my dad had gone to drop in Catholic Hospital Oluyoro, locked them in my mom's room and went to go and kill my dad.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Do we need a revolution?
Oh, sure, certainly. We are going nowhere with this evolution process. Oh.
We need a revolution.
I told a friend yesterday, I said, if we continue this way, for Nigeria to be sane, we need another 200 years. But if we have a strong leader, a leader like Ataturk, coming here, within a period of 4 or 5 years, he will straighten us out.
Tinubu might straighten us out.
It's not an Ataturk.
It's not an Ataturk? You should go study Ataturk?
He should, if he cares.
But time is running out.
Because, Turkey was in a worse condition than where we are in. ethnic rivalry, religious problem, poverty, prostitution. At that point, they were calling Turkey, a sick man of Europe. And then Ataturk just came and straightened everybody out,
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Why did you decide not to be a Milokon?
Well, I just feel that having related closely with the principal of Milokon, and having worked in the National Assembly, at the presidency myself, looking at our society and the condition we are in, I just felt that maybe the philosophy of Milokon was not appropriate at this time. Yeah.
You didn't like the philosophy
Of Milokon for this period, for this time, yes.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
The excuse they gave was that my dad told them to go and eat. Now, there was food in the house. There were cooks in the house. And they were still going to take my auntie to her son's house in Oluyole Estate. So Muiwa claimed, he was in the car, that my dad never told them to go out to go and eat. But obviously, they knew they were going to come and kill my dad.
The theme of this class is Unraveling Power, Tinubu's Rise, and the Bolag Assassination. That is the theme of this class. Unraveling Power, Tinubu's Rise, and Bolag's and the Bolag Assassination. That is the theme of the class. Look at this, and I want us to study it keenly. When state newly acquired, okay, I have talked about that. If you read Machiavelli's book, I'm unraveling this book because most of these big politicians have it in their cupboard. And it also dictates how they behave sometimes. Machiavelli suggests that a prince can secure his state by living there personally or directly oversee its affairs. I've mentioned that before. But I want us to look at the philosophical constructs and moral lessons from that theory. Power often begins as a tool for change. Have you noticed? Vote for me, I will change this. I am the right man. Vote for me, I am the right woman. I will give you water. I will lift you out of poverty. So power often begins as a tool for change, but it can devolve into a pursuit of self-interest. Many Nigerian leaders have not been able to guard against the corrupting influence of power. Power corrupts. So you must be operating at a very high level of consciousness for you to be able to control power. In that case, power will not corrupt you. And for you to operate at that level, you must attain some high level of mental magnitude. So when you have some persons just acquire power, it becomes power for power's sake. That is why they say those who change society are philosophical kings. Philosophical kings are great thinkers. Power does not corrupt them. And when power wants to corrupt them, they realize themselves and adjust because they are thinkers. Because they know that if power corrupts them, they will not be able to change society. So let me take you back to this point. Look at it. Look at the point I'm taking you back to. Obafemi Awolowo in his book, The People's Republic, makes the point. So listen, I'm going to read. Why the masses of the people must be given time to cultivate mental magnitude. Those who aspire to lead Nigeria are expected to be equipped with this great attribute before they venture to embark on their onerous assignment. You know, Awolowo was a philosopher king. So he makes the point that those who aspire to govern must first cultivate mental magnitude. He goes on to state, if they don't acquire that mental magnitude, it will be a case of the blind leading the blind. Let us make no mistake about it. Awolowo makes the point. A defective and inadequate leadership would only bring curses rather than blessings on Nigerian peoples. Can you see the causes that the people are going through? The problems from Buhari to Tinubu? It seems nothing is changing. But they will sing the same song that it will change. You know, Buhari kept telling us that it will change. And when Tinubu came, Tinubu said, oh my goodness, Buhari messed everything up. You will listen to an interview with Ojudu. From that interview, you would make up your mind if Buhari had the mental magnitude to govern. Tinubu is plunging us into deeper poverty. Does Tinubu have the mental magnitude to govern? I'm not done with Awolowo's book. Awolowo says, a defective and inadequate leadership would only bring curses rather than blessings on Nigerian peoples. Such leadership would fail to keep Nigeria harmoniously united and bestow on the peoples the benefits of an educated, healthy, prosperous, integrated, and happy life. Have you read Awolowo's books? You should be reading them. Go on udarabooks.com and search for Awolowo's book. Have your copies. He was a philosopher king. You can see the way he thinks. Bola was a philosopher king. You know, Awolowo was Bola mentor. I have interviewed Bola children. And I've interviewed Awolowo's daughter. I've been able to do a comparative analysis of what they said about their fathers. And I could see similarities. You know, Bola operated at a very high level of mental magnitude. So, you know, when you operate at that level, a lot of persons will not be comfortable with you. They will think you are proud. Because you are thinking at a higher level. So that was what happened with Bola. Let me bring in Babafemi Ojudu here. Ojudu is the author of the new book, Adventures of a Guerrilla Journalist. It's the new book. And I recommend the book to you, Adventures of a Guerrilla Journalist, by Senator Babafemi Ojudu. He's a renowned journalist. Remember the news magazine, Tempo magazine? These were the journalists that fought Abacha. Some of them went to prison. Senator Babafemi Ojudu on state affairs.
When I was in university, an uncle of mine who who is retired, and Professor Lomola, called me one day to his office and said, young man, I said, yes, I had a problem of what I published on campus, and I was trying to resolve that. And he said, look, I want to ask you a question. Do you know the goats? Those goats, black goats, yeah. You see the way they are walking around the street? I said, yes. And you know the lion. Have you been to the zoo in this school? I said, yes, I've been to the zoo. You can see that the lion is in a cage. I said, yes. I said, look, as you go ahead, you have to determine which one you want to be. Whether a lion that will come in the cage, or the goat that will be walking free on the street. So I left him. So I had to reflect on this when I was in detention. Okay, yes, I think I've opted to be a lion to be caged.
You wrote here,
yes,
that by nature,
yes,
I'm impervious to the voices that caution
yes,
against personal peril.
right,
When I undertake endeavors,
right,
I believe to be just and beneficial to the majority.
right. That's me. That's me. I never look for personal benefits. I never look at danger, and that exactly was the way my dad was. That's the way my grandmother was. It's like it's innate. It's in our DNA. And you want to serve your community. People will condemn you. They will abuse you. But the moment we decide that this is the right thing to be done, my dad fought so many battles in our town. This man cannot be king. This one has to be king. This one cannot be king because he was, one time a thief. My dad will fight, mobilize everybody to make sure that man does not become a king.
No wonder they called him F1.
Yeah, he will fight. He's a fighter. This one cannot be Yaloja. This one is only this one. This one cannot be Chief Imam. So he got himself involved in all of that.
And you took after him.
Yes,
because you stated it clearly in the book.
Yes.
That you got your courage.
I got my courage
from your dad.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's so obvious.
Your dad was a Zikist.
He was a Zikist, yeah.
Your grandfather was an Awoist.
And grandmother was an Awoist.
How do you reconcile this?
Well, he was rebellious. Just the way I also rebelled against him when he went to MPN and I remained in UPN. And at the point we're almost not on speaking terms in the house. And my daughter also rebelled against me. My daughter is a Milokon. I'm not a Milokon. my daughter is working in the presidency now. I will not step in there for anything.
You are not a Milokon?
No, I'm not a Milokon.
Why did you decide not to be a Milokon?
Well, I just feel that having related closely with the principals or the principal of a Milokon, and having worked in the National Assembly, at the presidency myself, looking at our society and the condition we are in, I just felt that maybe the philosophy of Emilokon was not appropriate at this time. Yeah.
You didn't like the philosophy
of Emilokon for this period, for this time, yes.
At the time Emilokon emerged,
yes,
you were a special advisor in the presidency.
Yes.
And you operated from the office of the vice president.
Yes.
That is Yemi
Osinbajo, yes.
And when the news was established,
yes,
the magazine that rattled
right,
the military
yes,
of that era,
right,
Yemi Osinbajo was part of the news. He was the secretary.
Yeah, he was a legal secretary, yeah.
Of the news.
Of the news, yes.
So that relationship has been way back.
Oh, sure, certainly. As far back as 1989.
So you supported Osinbajo to be president?
I did.
What informed that decision?
I was convinced because having seen him up close, the way he walked, his philosophy, his breadth of knowledge, and the kind of patriotic verve in him, I just think that he was the best person at that time to govern Nigeria that I've seen up close to be on the path of danger. Yeah.
So you were among those who persuaded him not to step down for anybody?
Well, I wouldn't say I persuaded him. We were all persuaded as a group. It was a group. It's not just an individual thing. Yeah. That look, if we can force our way through, that it will be good for this. And it will be good for this country. I'm telling you. For me, it's like losing Awolowo a second time.
That was what happened.
That's the way I saw it, because it was at that level. It was at the Awolowo level in terms of capacity, ability, dedication, commitment. I'm telling you, this country will have gone places with him. if he had the opportunity. But it didn't happen. Again,
will it happen?
Well, we have to continue to be positive, hopefully. I don't know whether you still want to go through that again. It was too excruciating, too demanding.
What made it excruciating?
We toured the whole of the 36 states 3 times. The man will stand up 4-5 hours addressing delegates and asking them to ask him questions of any kind without looking at anything. He will tell them, he will answer them, and then at the end of the day, he will stand up and take photographs individually with each and every delegate in 36 states of the country. Flying, sometimes we leave Sokoto at 2 a.m. to fly back to Abuja. By 8 a.m. we are back at the airport to fly to another state. So it was that, very strong, not eating, he sparsely eats, and then not resting. When we are scrambling for food somewhere, we'll just be looking at us. Just give him his black coffee, maybe with, 2 slices of bread sometime. Yeah, that's.
You said we missed the second coming of Awo.
Of Awo.
That's a big statement.
I can defend that anywhere. Here is a man, you cannot even write a speech for him. He's at an event, he has his iPad with him, right there observing what is happening and everything. He's working on his speech. And by the time he goes out there on the stage, God, you know that this man is well prepared. He's well read, he's well schooled, and in terms of ethics, man, it's first class. I remember when we got in, he called all of us. He said, "You are just a small percentage of Nigerians, among Nigerians who love to hold this your position. That should be enough of glory for you. So, I do not want to hear you come here to do business. The moment I learn that you've gone into one deal or the other, look at me, you'll be sacked." And it drove all of us to the extreme in terms of hard work.
So why did Buhari not back him?
I think that will form the basis of my next book. It's a long story.
Can you give me some hints?
I think I'm sorry to say I think Buhari wasn't a visionary. Let me just leave it at that for now.
He wasn't a visionary.
Yeah.
You were a special advisor under that presidency.
Yes.
On political matters.
On political matters.
So why did you accept to be a special advisor?
Well, I was a very big admirer of Buhari because of what I saw in his first time, and because of also his attitude to wealth, Spartan lifestyle and everything, but coming up close to that place, I didn't see much of vision. It's not driven by vision. Now, it's unfortunate I'm saying this, but we have to say it. But in terms of he's a patriot of Nigeria. He's a patriot. Take it from me, and he's incorruptible. Take it from me as well. His needs are few. Take it from me. Yes, those are good qualities, but it's not enough when you're a leader. You have to design a vision, and that's what make all of us celebrate Awo today. He was a visionary. He knew where Nigeria was and here he wanted to take Nigeria, and he designed the policy towards that. But it's a different matter with that man I loved and I respected. Yeah.
So you've gone. So you've seen him.
Yeah. Yes. That's it.
Oshibajo is a visionary.
Yes.
So how did Oshibajo feel? Or how did he feel working with somebody that wasn't a visionary?
Well, it's a combination. Just you could then ask me, how did the Idiagbon feel with somebody like Buhari? It's a partnership. What somebody does not have, you think that another person will add to it. So
I am just imagining
yes.
if Oshibajo became frustrated at some point.
Honestly, I wouldn't want to dwell on these things now. You'll be taken away from the book I'm currently writing. So I think I'll be back here one day to discuss this with you wholeheartedly, without holding back anything. It's one of the things I've seen that give me doubt if we are going to be able to lift this country up. Because again, are we ready, all of us? Why some people are pulling up, some are pulling down, and that kind of thing. And again, there are so many funny characters around power. selfish, self-centered, all this sees money and authority and influence and all those, things around power, like siren and convoys and traveling first class or business class. So, look, let me just tell you this: whoever is going to run this country successfully and change Nigeria must not just be an individual. It must be one person working within a group of people who have the same vision as him. You cannot just be a president and have, a useless Inspector General of Police or a useless head of custom or immigration or, Chief Justice of Nigeria. Everybody must sign on, to your ideals and ideas and your vision. Just the way everyone around Awolowo signed on to a particular goal, a particular vision, and said, look, nobody dare move outside it. The moment you move outside it, you are pushed aside, never to be accepted again, and they move on until they achieve their goal.
Buhari didn't have that.
Oh, again, let's wait and see.
Did you expect that Oshibajo was going to lose the primary?
Yes.
You knew?
Yeah, I saw it coming. Again, let me tell you this. Because of the nature of the system we operated, or we are still operating, I kept saying at our meetings that all of the efforts we are making, traveling around, convincing people, meeting people, addressing delegates and all of that, I told myself and I told them at the meeting that it's only 40%. That 60% of it lies in Buhari's hand. Unless and until Buhari is able to mobilize people around him, the governors, his own aides, and around this project, So I used to refer to Buhari as the one-man majority.
And he never mobilized his team around the project.
Forget about that.
He didn't do that.
No.
Did he do that towards Tinubu?
No. Well, he didn't do that for Oshibajo. I think Tinubu outsmarted him.
Tinubu did?
Yeah, I think he outsmarted him.
He didn't support Tinubu?
I'm not sure he was a Tinubu's fan.
So what happened?
Again, it's a long story, which I would like to reserve for my book.
Your book.
It's going to be
I wish you could write the book now.
I will. I'm working on it. I'm serious.
So Tinubu outsmarted him?
Yes, he outsmarted him in so many different ways.
Can you give me some ways, some tips?
No, don't.
That I can take away.
If we're going to it, it's going to dominate the entire interview we're going to have. It's going to. I'm talking of a book. You are talking of give you a hint. I wouldn't want to say what I cannot elaborate on, and which will make people misconstrue what I was saying. So that's why I said, let me first of all put it down before we can, so we can move to.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, please. You may God give us a long life.
That is Babafemi Ojudu there, the author of the new book Adventures of a Guerrilla Journalist. He's still with me. We've got a lot to say. Tinubu is the focus. Are you there? I'm recommending Babafemi Ojudu's book to you. You can get your copy, you can order your copy on udarabooks.com. On udarabooks.com. You can order your copy through my WhatsApp number 080 999 18449. That's my WhatsApp number if you are interested in ordering the book. It is not the radio station's number, so don't call it. Babafemi Ojudu's book. We have mentioned Obafemi Awolowo repeatedly. I want you to take this prison, my march through prison. You see, he was a philosopher king. He was a deep thinker. If you read his book, you would understand. And you would be influenced. Prison. That's his view. Then the fourth book written by Obafemi Awolowo that you should read is entitled My Early Life. You know, if you read My Early Life, you will understand how he rose from grass to grace, the philosophies that changed his life, the books he read, his view about God and religion. Obafemi Awolowo is the author of the book, Path to Nigeria Freedom. I recommend that book to you. You will find all these books on udarabooks.com. Or you can order them through my WhatsApp numbers, 080 309 18449. Obafemi Awolowo is the author of the book, Strategy and Tactics of the People. Strategy and Tactics of the People. He is the author of the book, The Problems of Africa. That is book number 7, The Problems of Africa. Have you read Thoughts on the Nigerian Constitution? Thoughts on the Nigerian Constitution. That is book number 8 by Obafemi Awolowo. Oh, you need to read Travails of Democracy. Travails of Democracy. That is the number 9 book I'm recommending to you by Obafemi Awolowo. Number 10, Voice of Reason. Number 11, Voice of Courage. Number 12, Voice of Wisdom. Then if you read his wife's biography, it gives you a broader picture of Awo. The title of the wife's biography is In the Radiance of a Sage. In the Radiance of a Sage. Order your copy through my WhatsApp number, 080 309 18449. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Stay cool. The Radio Man is here.
We share love, we share joy.
You do there. Let's also look at The Prince by Machiavelli. We are unraveling power. If you read The Prince, you would see that men nearly always follow the tracks made by others and proceed in their affairs by imitation, even though they cannot entirely keep to the tracks of others or emulate the prowess of their models. So Machiavelli says, so a prudent man must always follow in the footsteps of great men and imitate those who have been outstanding. He says, if his own prowess fails to compare with theirs, at least it has an air of greatness about it. So he must behave like those archers who, if they are skillful, when the target seems too distant, know the capabilities of their bow and aim a good deal higher than their objective. Now let me explain. The key reflections here is that the chapter I'm reading from highlights strategies for rulers to consolidate power after conquest and emphasizes the difference in ruling newly acquired territories that have traditions of liberty versus those accustomed to monarchy. You know, Tinubu is consolidating power after acquiring it. Soon, you will see what Tinubu is doing. Tinubu understands power in an underdeveloped state, and he knows how to acquire it. Likewise, some governors in different parts of Nigeria. But in this game of power, the grass is the people. They can be used. So the point that Machiavelli makes is that states accustomed to freedom cannot be ruled effectively without either destruction or substantial concessions. Nigeria's historical experience supports this. Remember, before colonization, many ethnic groups enjoyed self-governance under systems suited to their traditions. Colonial rule and later the imposition of centralized governance post-independence disrupted these systems. So over time, the failure to adapt governance to reflect Nigeria's ethnic and regional diversity has created deep-seated resentment and alienation, seen in movements for greater autonomy, resource control, or outright secession. How does this relate to the cycle of poverty and violence that persists? Machiavelli's warning about cities accustomed to freedom rebelling under oppressive rule is evident in Nigeria's circles of unrest. So what government calls sometimes criminal action is mostly rebellion as a result of failure of governance. But governments will say they are terrorists, they are criminals, they are militant. It is mostly a rebellion against the failure of governance. So the memory of better governance, cultural autonomy, or even historical prosperity fears resistance movements. Regions like the Niger Delta, for instance, have resisted exploitation of their resources by the state without equitable benefits, leading to what we call militancy. Yes, there are some level of criminal actions, because once you go against the law, it's a criminal action. But what the Nigerian state is seeing is both legitimate violence and illegitimate violence. So the state is not capable to exert violence, that monopoly of violence. The Nigerian state is not capable of exerting monopoly of violence. So if you see in some regions, they are being matched equally by those who are illegitimately perpetrating violence. That is why Boko Haram can confidently occupy the Lake Chad Basin, because they can match the Nigerian army arm for arm. So there are many governed spaces as we speak. The policemen we have to negotiate. That the people we have to negotiate with the so-called terrorists to have freedom to operate, to even go to the farm. You know, the military bombed an area in search of the new terrorist group in Sokoto, and they bombed communities. And the military is also blaming the communities for harboring the so-called terrorists. Those so-called terrorists are the same terrorists the Niger military leader is referring to as they are being armed by France and Nigeria to destabilize Niger. You could call it conspiracy theory, but it signals an unhappy time in the Sahel. You know, somebody was asking on X, how does foreign military base help domestically? Yes, they also get involved in domestic security. Like the French military bases in Burkina Faso, Mali. They were chasing terrorists everywhere, but they were in the lead fighting the terrorists. So that is why the military guys in Burkina Faso said, you have been fighting terrorists for 10 years, occupying our land. Yes, the terrorists are growing. So it simply means there's something behind it. Perhaps you are the one sponsoring them, so that you continue to destabilize us and tap our resources. That is it. So they get involved in internal security operations. First, they come in to say we want to protect resources. You saw what happened in Somalia at some point when the Islamic militant had to kill about 50 or say more than 20 American soldiers. The Black Hawk Down. Remember that helicopter, the Black Hawk Down, that is shot down. It was American troops. They were getting involved in domestic security in Somalia. Sometimes you call them peacekeeping forces. So they get involved. These are interesting times in Nigeria. But again, Russia is a threat to Nigeria because Russia is occupying countries that shares border with Nigeria. That should keep us awake. Because of Russia's involvement, there is military leadership in West Africa. So Tinubu will be scared, saying, okay, if the democratic leader of Niger was removed, and certainly it was with the support of Russia, the coup in Burkina Faso, the Wagner group was part of it, and the Wagner group is Russia. And during demonstration in Nigeria, Russian flag was flown. Northerners called for military takeover. And Tinubu is saying, no. If Russia is supporting you, I need a big power to support me too. And that big power might be France. And if France comes in, Britain might come in. America might come in. Because America is also losing its bases in these countries. Russia and America cannot share the same territory. Are you getting what is going, the geopolitics playing out in Africa? And Tinubu is part of that geopolitics. Remember, he wanted to go to war against Niger. Who was telling him to go to war? Don't worry, just give me some time. We are reading, we are investigating. Soon I will give the analysis. Okay? The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station.
I'm in love, Sonia tomato make you stand up. Is it to open? Is it to squeeze? Is it to scoop? And is it to stop?
Sonia tomato.
Igbo man,
The Igbo people were minority in that Supreme Court. Go and look at the Constitution of the Supreme Council.
Signed by an Igbo man.
That's not what I'm talking about. You are talking a different thing. The Supreme Military Council takes a decision. You don't look at the Supreme Military Council. You don't look at its composition. You are looking at the person who signed it. Did he sign it on his father's name?
If he did not sign it,
how could he have rejected?
He was the commander-in-chief.
But you are talking of military and discipline.
Yes, he's the commander-in-chief.
And then the military decides and they vote on something, and then he cancels it himself because he's commander-in-chief. Is that how it's done?
That's why they are dictators.
No, that was not his brand of dictatorship. If he was a dictator, in the true sense of that word, he would just go on radio and announce. Nobody would debate anything.
Remember, the constitution was relaxed.
Therefore,
and decree is dictatorship, is it not?
Decree is dictatorship, but that's not what I am arguing with you. I'm saying to you that that decree was not termed Ironsi's decree. It was termed unification decree. It wasn't his decree. It was a decree debated. And in this book, Chief Gabriel Onyuka said it. He was the Attorney General. He was a member of that council. It was debated for many sessions, and that as far as he knew, nobody opposed it. It's there in written form. Not even Hassan Usman Katsina.
But his chief of army staff, Yakubu Gowon, worked against him, perhaps because of that decree.
No, it wasn't because of that decree. That's why, I've said it here that Yakubu Gowon needs to make peace with his maker, peace with his conscience, and peace with history. A lot of people keep saying that it was Muritala Mohammed who led that counter-coup. No lie. That counter-coup was led by Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon. He led that coup.
Tell me more.
Okay. If you go to that section when that counter-coup started,
yes,
that morning, and then he phoned Ibadan, government house where Ironsi was staying. And then the person who picked the call was Danjuma. And Danjuma said, we are here, we have surrendered the place. We want to arrest Ironsi. And what did Yakubu go and ask him? Can you do it? The most senior Northern officer was asking his junior officer, his subordinate, can you seize the head of state? That's one question.
That might be an opportunistic question.
Hold on now. Now, Gowon was in Lagos. Gowon was chief of army staff. The action had started. Gowon had troops under his command. He didn't move any forces anywhere throughout the hours that the coup lasted. Gowon was actually at the Ikeja cantonment with his forces there. He didn't do anything. That's why I tell you that he was the person in charge. He knew what was being planned. He's just like, in a sense, Yakubu Gowon is just like Muhammadu Buhari. The coup that led Buhari into power was organized by him, but up to next tomorrow, he keeps saying that he didn't know about it. He was called to make it and asked to become a lie. That's not true. He organized it. He knew about it from beginning to the very tail end.
Theophilus Danjuma gave the impression that the northern officers in Abeokuta started the coup. It was an opportunity that they grabbed when Igbo officers were holding meeting in Abeokuta. And seeing what these younger soldiers had done, Yakubu and co. decided to key into the moment. Perhaps it wasn't a planned coup. It was an opportunity to take revenge.
People should, as you have asked them, people should try and read this book. This book was first written over 20 years ago, and it was updated. In the update, you have the interview of Major General Jeremiah Hussaini. Is there, who said they planned the coup over weeks. they would drive out of their barracks in a car and go as if they are traveling to Midwest then and be planning it. It was planned over a long time. It wasn't opportunistic. They knew the date they set aside for it. They planned it very, very well. It wasn't. It's in the book. Jeremiah says he's still alive.
And your man Ironsi didn't know as the commander-in-chief.
It's just like what happened in January. What's his name? General Ironsi was told severally. Even Madiebo wrote it in his own book, The Nigerian Revolution and the Biafran War. That he went there and he told him, he got there, Ironsi said, let Yakubu go and be there. And he told him everything. This is what they are planning. And
Gowon was listening.
He was there listening. And when they finished, he told his chief of army staff, go and destroy those bases where they are planning this thing. The man said yes and go and went and sat down in his house.
And he didn't monitor his chief of army staff.
You have to understand what is going on here. Ironsi wasn't an administrator. He was a military officer who became head of state. What are you talking about monitoring? Yakubu Gowon got reports that they were going to overthrow him. He knew, even before he went to that yes, he knew all those things. There's a stage you get to, you say, as one of his men was saying in this book, that let me be the sacrificial lamb. Let's leave it at that. Ironsi had many reports on plots to overthrow him.
You know, the way they captured him, it was so easy.
It wasn't as easy as you would say, because they got to where he was. And that's what I was telling you, that a lot of the foot soldiers were from the north. Do you understand? And before that time, before the coup actually took place, the soldiers had been conditioned. They will go to the barracks in Ibadan. They will be speaking outside. Say that, where is your...
Good morning.
Commander, where is that your commander?
I'm
your fellow northerner, they killed him. People are here eating food, drinking.
Happy to hear your voice.
They will go to all those places where you have their people telling them. So they had conditioned them that some injustice had been done, and they had to be
unraveling the path of.
So by the time you went there,
the president became the president.
You know, mind you,
how did Tinubu became
wasn't
president?
A tribalist.
And the killing of
Gowon
our
constituted
Attorney
a
General,
brigade of guards
just
made up of only his people. Didn't you hear it?
Barrister, Bola.
Yakubu Gowon is alive.
Now I want to actually speak quickly about this current.
The only person who was not from his place was
Jogarba. Is a man that brought in hope.
Did he prevent
Buhari that said
when the time
change? But unfortunately,
so when those soldiers,
it was a negative change. And now we have the renewal, but unfortunately again,
got there.
Is becoming
just a question of speaking their language to their people.
Personally, I'm not seriously blaming him because I also believe that what you don't have,
that was what happened.
You may not be able to give us. If we look at it, just of recently, when he went for holiday from Lagos, from Abuja to Lagos, there was a guy that was showing a clips of his convoy.
I was at the
blowing siren, like about 6 riders, a lot of vehicles following, and they were shouting, number one, praising him. And some mothers will say, why I wish my son also becomes like this.
The same thing.
But when I look at it, I'm looking at the scenario of
as the person who decided to sacrifice
driver union leaders. And that's the way they do. They are only interested in the availability of money for them to spend. They don't want to know whether it is convenient for their union members. They just collect the money, make sure that the money is available, and they spend it on themselves. Squander it on themselves. So I'm seeing the same scenario, which is definitely against, which is not bringing us hope, which is not giving me hope at all that this country can even be peace, Perhaps maybe after his own
I interviewed
government, but as far as
at that time,
this government is concerned, with all the activities, with all the actions,
once they climbed
I've not been seeing demonstrations of hope. I've not been seeing selflessness. I've not been seeing visionary leadership. I've not been seeing people that are careful, that care about the state of economy of these people, who care for others, and who have a part, who have a vision, a kind of where he's leading this country to. But I'm saying people who want to grab power, who wants to enjoy the power and live the way they like. And that's why that is what we are having today. Look at this tax reform they don't want to know whether it's convenient for the poor. All they need is the availability of money.
That's why I said the coup was thoroughly planned.
Thank you.
They believed.
Thank you for calling the radio station.
Knew about the coup.
The lines are
January coup.
Yes. And it's been said by some of those plotters that
if you're
Fajui himself was in the know,
leave your comments.
But didn't participate.
I'm on X now.
If you knew
Arauye
and you didn't participate, even if you didn't participate, you were complicit in their thinking, and you were to be punished.
Yeah, Arauye,
so my own
you have to say about that
viewpoint is that even before they went into the governor's lodge in Ibadan, they had two main targets in mind.
One thing about X,
and they got their targets.
Yes, using their full names.
So the point is that the popular Fajui narrative
you spell your name
is
correctly.
not the real story.
Ademi Eva.
I would say it is the story.
It's so obvious that Buhari.
I am saying that I interviewed many people who were there, and that account was not related to me.
Non-visionary
let me just tell you, when this book came out,
Oshibajo was a good candidate, but Nigerians
I sent it to General Danjuma.
Buhari's hands
I sent it to General Gowon.
If the president's hands are tied,
I said, controvert this book.
Something wrong with that president.
Hello, good morning. 3 years ago. This one is a new edition, updated. Up to today, none of them has contradicted the contents of this. In fact,
this is Bengal
I haven't seen
Mario,
any line in this book contradicted by anybody.
I want to wish Edmund,
because I knew it was a serious project. I didn't want to joke with it.
Thank you.
Now,
I stated only those things that I found in my research.
We are looking ahead to
and Chukwusideguna wrote this book as a
and
judge.
I would like to
journalist, I'm a writer too.
Yeah.
You know, there's a slight difference between the two, journalism and writing, but it's writing is writing, yes.
You worked with the news world.
I did.
You worked with the Guardian.
I did.
How did your journalism career help you in writing this
There are
book?
so many soldiers that have lost their lives.
It helped me in the sense of
some of them who have lost their life. Their
trying to
families are
extract
being
facts.
left
You know, as a journalist, you ask
So
questions.
we are calling
The way you
on
are
the
probing now,
government to ensure that
you're almost cross-examining me. That's the job of journalism. It helps you to go for the truth, to know what the kind of facts you want to extract. It helped me in that respect. One. Two, it also helped me in the art of writing. If you're a journalist and you are writing on a report on a daily basis, writing becomes easy. So you don't have to spend 1 hour writing anything. You finish it in 10 minutes because writing is no longer a difficulty for you. It's part of your life. It's just like the pilot. The pilot is flying every day from Lagos to Abuja. It's easy for him because he knows it. So that's what journalism helped me to know how to interrogate issues and then how to write down. In a sense, journalism had even prepared my mind because I knew a lot of contemporary Nigerian history even before I started writing the book.
And you fill the gap with this book.
Yes.
Because there was no biographical account, a broad biographical account on Iran's.
Nobody wrote anything about the man. All they said that he was a drunkard, he was sipping whiskey and nothing more than that. But I discovered that, contrary to that nonsense, that was a serious man. He went into the army as ordinary recruit. After the Civil War, he was found with enough competence to work for officer training, and he went there, and he kept being promoted after exams under white colonial rule.
Some of them are sitting in their houses. Don't even know where manner we come from. So I want local government autonomy as well.
You spoke with his sister to write this book.
Yes, I spoke with his sister.
The sister was like a mom to me.
The sister was something of a mother to me because she was much older.
In this country, I want to pray for
the sister was the one who was married to the Sierra Leonean. And they lived in Kano. The one was an officer, a civil servant.
And he also joined the army in Kano.
Yes, he did in Kano.
Thank you, Mr. Benga.
And the sister protested.
The sister said, no, you couldn't go and join the army when we were finding you a job at the UAC. And he said, well, I've already registered and enlisted and I've got my number, so it can be changed again.
Ironsi was from Umuahia.
Yes, Akinwale is on Twitter.
He
says, good to listen to you.
I want you to
always.
Interrogate this part
It may take another generation
life.
for this country to change.
Before he took over, there was
the
one
battle for
for
good governance in this present generation
who was in
is
charge
lost
after Balewa was
That is
killed.
KG Akinwale.
One for Rizu
Olani
was an Igbo
some
man.
legend, Baba.
At
is
some
in class.
point,
Some
members of
legend,
the Northern
Baba.
People's Congress
Good to have you in class. How are
wanted
you today?
a new leader,
Good morning from here.
but Orizu would not take that.
As you listen, invite your friends
Can we say
by reposting.
Orizu was more
I'm on X.
comfortable
Let your messages keep
with an
coming.
Igbo man taking over than
Uluwa Tobi Lobaku
giving
Bola,
power again to
says
the
the
North.
radio man. I remember
because
telling
he
some
somewhat
folks
resisted every attempt
in 2023
to appoint an
that
acting prime
we would
minister.
have no contest had Professor
I don't
Yemi
know
Osinbajo
where
emerged
you read those from.
as the
I'm not saying
presidential
that
candidate of
those weren't
APC.
written wherever.
His
All I'm saying is
brilliant
that when
economic interventions,
Ironsi
when PMB
and his
was
forces
away, proved
aggregated
him as visionary.
the
That is
politicians
from Oluwa Tobi
and
Lobaku
had a
Bola.
meeting with them, it was already a
Thank you
fait
for your
accompli.
message.
A lot of them were in hiding.
You can see
Those of them
Ayola
who were there,
TT.
they signed the document
On
handing over power to military.
It's nice to hear from
Did they
Baba
sign
Femi
under
Odudu on
duress?
State of
No, they did not.
Remember,
He
a
said his
military officer
political
was in that
alignment
meeting.
caused
Well,
communication gap
hold on.
between him and his parents
The way
at
it
some
happened,
point.
and I interviewed
I wish he could
this,
also
what's this man's
clarify
name
the
again?
same communication
The
gap
first Northern SAN.
between him and his
The
daughter
man came from
because
Ilorin, but
of her political
he-
choice. No, there is no
he
gap.
grew up in, he was born in
told
Onitsha, he
me.
grew up in
And they are
Onitsha.
still yummy.
So he spoke Igbo like any other person. That's why he went to school.
Okay.
What's his name now?
You know, even in Oyo
Well, the
State,
man said
there were many
Ironsi was addressing them.
politicians here whose children
said
were obedient.
They
and
needed,
they were
we
Emiloko.
needed the authority to take over
You know,
power.
you even
Because
heard
things, water don't pass Gary, things are spoiled.
former Attorney General
They were prepared
of
to
Oyo
sign,
State,
and the
Bayo
man,
Ojo, he came here.
Abdulrazak, Alhaji
He
Abdulrazak,
was a Miloko.
first
His
Northern
daughters were
Nigerian senior
obedient.
advocate of Nigeria.
So it's
And the
acceptable.
man said,
you know,
this thing
but
cannot be a
sometimes it
verbal
can be
thing.
painful. The children you are
It's
feeding,
better that we write
you are paying
and
their
sign
school
one by
fees.
one.
You are a Miloko and they are telling
There
you
was
they are
no
obedient.
paper.
Who are you?
He brought out paper there,
You might even
and
get
they
to the
wrote that
point and say, "I'm not
document,
paying
and
your
they
school
all
fees again."
appended their signature
My friend,
to it.
you either follow
This is
me
the truth of what happened.
Including
or you lose your
Ozumba
school
Mbadiwe.
fees. But
Everybody who was there
it's
signed that.
democracy. It can be painful.
Why was
no doubt, but it's
Mbadiwe
not easy, Sha.
so interested in
You
how
know?
he looked?
My
Because
friend,
the way
my
he
money is
rushed into
coming
that
from being a
meeting without a
Miloko.
cap.
No,
And
it
here
wasn't
you are
because
being obedient.
you say, why was he so
What's wrong with you?
disinterested? Because the
So it
troops,
happened.
army troops come
But it hasn't
with
happened
their
to
tires
me.
crunching on your hallway,
In my family,
and
I'm
they come
the
out, you are
main
wanted
political
at Parliament
influence.
building.
Sometimes
You'll
I
be
tell my dad
remembering your
where to
cap.
go.
But remember,
My dad is
before
not
even
that
the army
political.
officers came, he
My
was
mom will
wasting
call, who should I
time trying
vote
to
for?
dress up.
I say vote for this person.
When they had come to
My
him,
sisters
before
will
they
I say
even
vote
came.
for this. So
when
somehow
if he was
they
wasting
follow
time trying to dress up,
my
he would have
recommendation.
remembered in his time
I know
wasting to pick
someday
his cap.
they might not follow.
Yes, it was this man
Okay.
who told me,
All right.
Chief Adeniro
Baba
Ogunsanya,
Femi Ojudu is still here.
you know, who told me the story. He
So
was
let's
the person
bring
who went
in
there
Baba Femi
to go and
Ojudu
pick him
again.
up.
Yeah.
And he was
That
glad he
is-
said that when they rushed them out, the man
Let's
forgot his cap.
expand the
I
discussion.
remember that aspect of the...
You know, in
You
this
know, most
book,
people
he
don't
wrote
know about
Tinubu.
Mbadiwe. And there's a popular road in Lagos.
So I'm going to
Ozumba
bring
Mbadiwe
you
Way.
Yes.
the interview too.
Even most
with
Igbo
Baba
young
Femi
persons don't know much about
Ojudu
him.
They don't know. No.
on State Affairs.
And when you mentioned him in the book, I smiled. But again, do you think the Igbo nation understand the power of history? Because it seems history is skewed against them.
Some would think that You betrayed Tinubu.
You see, the Igbo
that's their cup of tea.
people are
when the news started.
Yeah, some of them even said he was the one feeding him.
Answers to questions on them cannot be rendered.
He was the one who did this.
Yeses and no's.
Tinubu has always known that I'm an independent person.
Like lawyers on the one hand.
So when you guys went to him to contribute to the founding of the news,
get a proper answer that will be
what was the deal?
Perspective with the question thrown at you.
I never knew him until that moment.
People have a sense of history.
We got to know him.
Otherwise,
Chris Mama,
they will not be there.
The former journalist.
Is the history of their forefathers,
who later became
their resilience, their hard work.
So he was the one who introduced us. And
that made them to survive
our stance,
the civil war, with everything destroyed, and with 20 pounds given to each of them. Even if you have 20 million in the bank, and they bounce back. If you don't have a sense of purpose, a sense of history, which is a sense of
comes up, you come in and seek my opinion.
A sense of history is a sense of you.
We tell you straight.
If they didn't have it, they couldn't have survived.
Tell you the way it
so
is.
they do have it. Of course, you can talk about
I think in year 2000
extraneous issues.
2001.
If
I went visiting him,
Korocha behaved the way he did as governor of Imo State,
and
did he know of Igbo
we just
history?
walked in there and he came down. And
if you have people who are prepared to sell off the ethnic group for
is that the way you are going to give me greet me? I'm the governor of Lagos State.
A plot of land in Abuja.
So what?
Do they know
you
the
want to knock
history
my head on the ground because you are governor?
People.
He said that to him.
It was fine.
Those are valid questions to ask. But it's not the same thing as saying the people as
that's his father's son.
They have a sense of history.
Just to tell you the way he perceives me, he knows that
Let's
I'm
look
not,
at the
I'm not a Katawala. I'm not somebody that koto to people.
It led
I'll
to
tell
the
you
civil
if you are
war.
doing well. I'll tell you if you are not doing well. I'll tell you what you don't like to hear.
There was
I
massive
just
killing
put
in
out
the
this
northern
story
region.
in
Persons of
Leaders and
Igbo
Their
origin.
Men, where
Was it a pogrom?
Yes, it was genocidal. It's more than it was a genocide. I was in Kano. I lived in Kano then. In fact, I even lost my elder brother there.
For him,
he had one of the best school certificate results in northern Nigeria, Igbo Union Grammar School. They killed him there at 18 years.
So they gave him Superman.
You see what I mean? So it was genocide. You went killing people all over the place. And nobody has apologized for that up to next tomorrow.
Was the military part of the killing?
Oh, yes.
I told him that. You know, how old was I then?
I wrote it here in this book.
Because
oh, yes. He said, okay, Femi, what do you
General Danjuma became a later-day apologist, saying that under Buhari, the soldiers are attacking and killing people, and people should defend themselves. I reminded him that was what happened in 1966.
I don't know whether you want me to say it.
Soldiers went to Sobongeri Kano, they call it Operation Wipeout, and killed any Igbo person that they found there that night.
He called me one
day
and
it
said I should come to Ikoyi, and I went to
May 29, June 29, July 29, September 29,
and
and those who were traveling on the road, they seizing them and killing them. In fact, Gowon said it, that's quoted in this book. Gowon said the killings of the Igbo people
a student of history in this country. Do you not see what happened to Bola?
have become unnecessary.
I said, you are digging your political grave if you accept that kind
that
of
they should remember that after all,
as we're saying
God
that,
in his infinite mercy
colleague
has given back
of
federal
us
power
entered
to another
and
northerner.
offered
Gowon said it, and Gowon is
I
alive.
said, same thing to him. I said, no,
Gowon, your man, if I can call him, Gowon was the person who said that the basis of unity did not exist in Nigeria.
You guys are too radical.
How can Gowon be my man? I've not met him.
Okay, Gowon said he may not be a man.
He's our leader.
As Yunus is my man. But Gowon said that there wasn't basis for unity in Nigeria.
9 months down the line,
when he discovered what he had done, he tried to deny it, and they rewrote other things. They forgot that there's something called BBC monitoring.
So
anything you say for radio or any part of the world, BBC will capture it. Even once you broadcast it, they have it.
We wanted a leader.
Then we went there and brought the original of his broadcast. It is still there. For a little fee, they will give it to you. He said there was no basis for unity in Nigeria.
So they were ready to break away.
That speech was
it seems both of you have come a long
speech.
way.
He was going to proclaim
so we cannot,
the Republic of Northern Nigeria.
It's about
who stopped
it's about at a point in time,
Mr. Matthews,
our vision,
the American ambassador.
Routes, that's all. It's not a personal thing. I'm just coming in
the
from
British High
Lagos.
Commissioner.
I went to
you know
attend
what I
the
did?
wedding of
I went to Kew Garden in London.
Bayononuga is the chief media
It was part of the reasons why the book didn't appear originally, because I was looking for that
man at his wedding.
vital
So people were saying,
information.
they were saying,
You have to wait for about
thank you for coming. What do you think? You think we were
for
boxing?
materials to be
almost on every page is here.
Yeah, so
then I went to Kew Gardens. I went to the
nothing about that.
the vote of this
For
British
me,
parliamentary
loyalty
records.
to friendship.
I saw the honourable minister said yes.
On a lesser scale,
That Gowon,
to loyalty to
who
country.
was going to succeed,
Whatever
and we dissuaded
I
him
have to do
and told him no
that
to
will
stay, not to
uplift
succeed.
200
It's
million
Tinubu.
Nigerians, that will make
And he
Nigeria
said,
respected
I'm just
in the
sorry
community
for
of nations. That will make us live a good life.
I'm sorry
I
for
can sacrifice
Gowon.
my family for that.
When I
That's-
was chief of
that was
staff
exactly
to
what I
Governor
did when I
Peter
fought Abacha. I sacrificed my
Gowon
family.
visited. He
My
was
wife, I was
moving
newly
around
married,
with his Nigeria
and I was
praise.
running
I was the person
out
who
of the
received
country,
him.
coming back, going to jail.
I was the person
being
who put
arrested.
him
My
in the
wife
hotel where
was
he
all over
stayed.
the
I
town.
was with
That's a
him when he had to
sacrifice. My
watch
children
and
were young.
everything. He
Again, why did
encouraged,
I
he
do
said,
that? I could have lived a much more
he was chief
comfortable
of staff
life.
at a much younger
going
age.
around
I must say,
collecting
it's not
money
easy. I should do
from
my
people,
best. I
buying
thanked him and everything.
fine cars,
But
going home to sleep
there are
after
many
the day's
things
job and that kind of thing. No,
about
I knew that I had to do something
our
to rescue
society
Nigeria from the military. That was why
that he
I
should
went
have
to
cleared the air
Is that
about
battle over?
what has resisted
Well, we you know,
from the wings.
such battles
That
come in
is why
stages. We had the
He
battle.
deserves to.
You
It's,
know,
it's good that God gave him
against the colonial
longevity.
masters, which again journalists championed. You know,
He has to come
Then we
clean
had the battle
on
for
all
nation
these
building
matters and
in the
tell
early
him
60s. Up
How-
until
When you
time
say
the
come
military
clean,
came.
you want him to write a book? Because
Then the
there's
military
the
came,
Gowon
we had the
biography
battle.
written
Fight
by
the
Elias.
military.
the Gowon biography
Kind of destruction. they
written
were
by
destroying.
I read
Now
it.
we
I
have
quoted it in
democracy.
this book.
You know, the challenge of democracy.
He talks about
now
Gowon
is the
biography
challenge
is
of
his whole
development.
life,
We need to have
his 9 years in
journalists who can
power
also
and
fight that
everything.
battle. You
But
know,
the
people
ones that
will
are
look at the budget,
pertinent to
analyze it thoroughly,
Irancy,
and tell the world that
where he
this
said
can work, this cannot work.
that
You know, what
Gowon
kind
was
of
the person
economic
who
option are we
forced
choosing
the
that make
coup.
people very
That's a
poor
lie.
today? That make
It's not
people
true.
not being
And I
able
had
to
to
buy
counter
their
him there.
medication? That make people more
Did
people are getting
Igbo
homeless.
have to go to
People are
war?
going hungry. People are giving birth to
Well,
children.
I think I said it from the
You know,
outset
and their
that
father and mother cannot
I'm not
afford
a
baby
man
formula.
of violence.
You know, a good baby formula in the market now is about 30,000
where
naira.
peace will do,
And the baby will eat it for 3 days.
There's no need to.
And if you put a man
go to
on
war.
60,000
And if
naira
you go
minimum
through
wage,
history,
and that 60 naira is just barely enough
most
to
wars
feed a baby
end up
for,
on the
for 6 days.
negotiation
So how
table
realistic
at
is
the
that?
end of the day, at the
You
end,
know,
end
now,
of the fighting.
coming here,
That's
living
one
in Lagos, I have
question
to
of
buy
one
fuel of
aspect of my answer
100,000,
to you.
110,000 naira to feed
But
my
I will
car.
give you another aspect
2
of
years
it.
ago, I will
You
feed that
sitting
car with
here
60,000
now,
naira. So for me now, $1 million naira
and somebody comes
is
in,
just equivalent to 100,000 naira.
punching you,
So
kicking
these
you,
problems have to be
biting
solved.
you,
And
spitting
and
upon you.
it's
He
an
even has a
agenda we have to
dagger,
do for journalists
which
in
means that
Nigeria.
once it goes into
You
your
can't
heart,
just
your
look
end has
on
come.
and watch this happen
I will
without
ask you to
posting the
defend
challenge
yourself.
and just allow it to
No
go.
people have been killed like Ndibo in Africa.
Femi Ojudu, the journalist.
Yes,
Not even
The
the
radical
this thing that happened in
journalist,
Rwanda.
right.
The journalist that could
This thing
steal
went on for many
pictures
months.
for
It
stories.
went into the war. They kept
You wrote a
bombing
story here
churches.
on
They
page
kept bombing
125
markets.
of your
They
book.
kept bombing
This is the book
public squares. They
you
said
should
that starvation was a
If you have
legitimate
been reading
instrument of warfare.
And you have not read
And people-
this book.
I always said it.
Then
I now always
you've
said
not
all of them
read
said
enough.
it. They
Femi Ojudu's
blockaded
book,
Biafra. Even if
The
they didn't
Adventures
say it verbally, that's
of a
the
guerrilla
meaning.
journalist.
And kids were
It's a
dying
classic already.
from lack of
The
nutrition.
stories here
It was
are
war.
fluid.
It was war, and then all those were people who got
inciting,
killed for things
inspiring,
they knew nothing
and
about.
funny. Igbo wanted war, right? And they got war.
Who said Igbo wanted war?
State
Addressing
Affairs
it,
with
not so.
Edmond
I'm saying
Obilo
that if
is
you are attacked, you should
live.
defend yourself, and you're
Stay
telling me that
tuned.
Igbo wanted war. Was it Biafra that attacked Nigeria?
Nigeria attacked Biafra.
Yes, Nigeria attacked Biafra.
And Biafra defended itself.
Yes. Yes.
Was Biafra prepared for that war?
Biafra was given the benefit of hindsight. Biafra was unprepared.
Should Biafra have waited for the right time
It's
to go
about
to war?
Yes, people suggested that.
Unraveling Paul.
That would have been the best
He
thing to do.
mentioned Bola again.
You didn't go to war if the
Bola
certainty
Ige's
of your
daughter
defeat is there. You make
He's
peace.
also on state affairs.
You see what I mean?
Let's
Would the
feel
Igbo nation go to
her
war
voice.
against?
I told you here that I'm not a prophet. But I can tell you that if you attacked
The point is that
when the assassins came,
ethnic group in this society, even
Bola security men were not around.
They said they were not around. They had locked my brother up, so nobody knew if indeed
to defend themselves.
They were there, and they let those ones go in and do their work.
Yes.
Who is attacking?
But the excuse they gave
the
was
federal government is attacking them.
Tell me more.
That's the excuse.
All of them.
All of them.
The Southeast
and then 64 rounds of ammunition was locked up inside the cupboard.
Well, it started with
who locked it up?
Police stations
the
being
security
attacked.
detail.
So they were not armed when they left.
You go to some place like
they were not armed when they left. They were not armed
at
any time. They did not plan to be armed.
The military is that of the Obins.
They had disarmed themselves.
Other military formations are there.
State Affairs with Edmond Bilo is
all
live.
over the East.
Who was sacking the prisons, attacking the police stations?
Stay
Those
tuned.
people who were organized to attack those police stations and prisons were releasing prisons.
My children,
that was where it started.
Grandma,
no, I'm not saying IPOB. I said those thugs who were attacking were doing those. But the central point I'm making is that
my mom was there,
you can't have a government in place and they sack a police station
Grandma
today.
On my dad's side,
No defense.
Of the house.
They sack a second one tomorrow. No defense. They sack 10 police stations in the state. No defense.
Chief
This thing
who was attacking the police stations? Is it IPOB?
You asked me that question. I said
yes,
no. I don't attribute those attacks to them.
My son was the one
people who should have answered their question
and found that it was locked. So he just undid.
Government functionaries who had the means and the wherewithal to counter those attacks.
I said, Daddy,
but I heard
a shot.
Answer your question.
Because I didn't even go to my dad's side. I was going to my mom's side first, and then going to my dad's. We were just ran out.
So they were locked in by the assassins.
The assassins locked my mom.
Military head of state.
Muiwa's wife.
He organized with some
uncle's wife,
ex-Israeli security
my dad had gone to
go and kidnap
locked them in my mom's room. I went to go and kill my dad.
Bring him back to this country. They kidnapped Moradiko.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
Scotland Yard police, they found out and released the man. 30 years later, when he became civilian head of state, he went to Kenya and seized Nnamdi Kanu.
He gave me wings. That is Bola.
That is at the heart of
she wrote about
the instability in the country now. The Supreme Court has said, release this man. The Supreme Court is the highest judicial authority. If you release Nnamdi Kanu today,
gave me roots.
I tell you,
Funsho Adegbola's book,
the chances of peace returning will be 90%. Why?
Simple to read.
A lot of the disorder you see in the Southeast zone now is tied to sit at home.
And her father.
Who ordered sit at home?
You can get the book on udarabooks.com.
When it started,
udarabooks.com.
When it started,
it's a 2-in-1 book.
It was IPOB.
2 memoirs in
Initially.
one.
At that time, nobody was forced to sit at home.
Through my WhatsApp
People
number.
did it willingly. Who liked. If you didn't like, you went your way. Nobody stopped you. Now you have multiple voices ordering sit at homes. There's one fellow who is in Finland.
Simon Ekpa.
He orders sit at home. Sometimes he said people should buy food stuff and stay indoors for 2 weeks. Such ridiculous things. There are all kinds of names. Some of them nicknames. Ordering sit at home, sit at home, sit at home.
They accusing Nnamdi Kanu of instigating the crisis and the instability
for your observation
in the Southeast.
Now, if you want to do that, you have the freedom to do that.
He says, I believe with visionary leaders,
to accuse
Nigeria will get better, even with
but I'm
us
not going
having
to be party to that kind of antipathy
and religious groups.
That's not the way I function. I'm telling you, ask me a question, and I'm answering. Abuja destabilized the Southeast zone. They can stabilize it again by releasing this man who the Supreme Court said
he was released before. Did that bring peace to the Southeast?
Did you? After he was released, what happened?
They
went to his father's house and sacked the place, killed people and destroyed the whole place.
Before the father's house was sacked, what happened?
I don't know what happened. Tell me what happened. I'm not a tape recorder.
Because you live in the Southeast. You are a village man.
I don't live in Abia State. And whatever is in the news, if you are in Scotland, you will see. You know, if you are in South Africa, if you are in Bermuda, you will still know. So you will also know that.
I know Chuksule Bunam is a village man.
Yes, I am a village man.
John is on
He said we understand what goes on in the Southeast.
I understand what goes on in my village.
Your ears are on the ground.
Your ears are also on the ground. Are they not?
Let's have
this
discussion.
Yes, also on the ground.
So Tinubu releasing Nnamdi Kanu now.
Sure,
that is what you are saying.
Understand why.
Yes, because
we are where we are now.
People who have similar charges like himself have been released.
On earth.
So wherever is in freedom back to the US, this other guy of the Mieti idea is in freedom and do his whatever is his business enough in Nigeria. And this man, the Supreme Court has said, release this.
We'll have a better land.
So you have got to be told why they think that this man cannot be released.
As you listen,
and let me make a final point.
Invite
why
your
I'm
friends
saying
to
this.
join the
I
class.
believe that
Senator
there will be some kind of order. Everybody claims to be IPOB.
Let's listen.
Everybody claims to be ESN. We don't know. This is the bullshit because we are not members of their organization.
If you have
been reading, that if you have Nnamdi Kanu out and he says,
then you've not read enough. Femi Ojudu's book, The Adventures
any other alternate voice that comes in will be
classic
dealt
already.
with.
But he has said it from the courts.
They said they didn't believe him, that he wasn't the person who said it. It is not. They said they don't believe it, that he's under duress, that he's still in captivity.
Funny.
Bring him out.
On page
And
hopefully Tinubu will bring him out.
Yes, hopefully.
The Igbo nation is speaking out.
Story. In fact, if I were the man, I won't wait for the Igbo nation to do the right thing.
That experience, yeah.
I will do the right thing.
That was in London.
Wait for them to applaud me if they like.
You were looking for that sweet stuff.
If you have the right thing to do not wait to be told before you do the right thing.
Tell us.
Well, I had a trip.
What does the Igbo man want from Nigeria?
The Igbo man wants
I had to sneak out of
to be
Nigeria
treated
to escape
like a human being.
The
Igbo man wants to have the same basic rights that every other Nigerian enjoys. The Igbo man wants to be in freedom. The Igbo man doesn't want to hear that he cannot vote in Lagos. There are Yoruba and Igbo people in London winning electoral offices, even in the US.
But Igbo people are voting everywhere in Nigeria.
By this time, you already chummy.
Didn't you see what happened during the last general elections? Didn't you hear about it? You live in Ibadan, but didn't you know what was happening in Lagos? Didn't you see officials of this current government say that they should go back to the east? How can you say people should work? There are millions of Yoruba people in Côte d'Ivoire.
Just come over. Who paid?
At least 5 million. They've been living there since the 30s.
But he wasn't living in London.
Nobody's chasing them away. They participate in every aspect of life.
No, he later moved, much later.
Why should you tell me that I can't live in Lagos? I can't use my money to buy a house in Lagos.
But Igbo people are living in Lagos.
Didn't you hear the clamor for them to leave?
Igbo people are buying houses in Lagos.
Didn't you hear that they bought up the whole of Lagos Island? As
Igbo
if they forced people
are thriving in Lagos till now.
I don't think you are following me.
I'm following you.
You are saying that Igbo people are thriving.
Yes.
It didn't occur to you that they are thriving because of their resilience, in spite of all the adversities put in their way, in spite of all the opposition. It's not because they know their history, they have their resilience, they know what's in their DNA that they are surviving and thriving.
I was so excited.
Do you want an Igbo president?
I felt so bad, so agitated because I couldn't write.
I want
to take notes.
A competent president.
Trying to memorize whatever I could memorize.
I do not want a numbskull to become president of Nigeria simply because he's Igbo.
Do numbskulls govern the country?
I don't. Yes.
Have they governed Nigeria?
Who excused himself to go to the
Nigeria were otherwise governed, we won't be in this mess that we are today. Look at, we are in a mess now.
Who is a numbskull?
A numbskull is person when not get anything inside in brain power. You don't get brain power. That's a numbskull.
And they've been president of Nigeria?
Through time.
Is Peter Obi one of them?
He's never been president of this country.
Is he a numbskull?
No, how could he be? I was his chief of staff when he was governor of Anambra State. The man has grey matter in his head.
Tell me more.
I saw this man
he had
for the first time,
and at that time
when Ojukwu came to Delta State to campaign for APGA. And I talked to him there, asked him a few questions, and I said, let's see how it goes.
So I jumped up.
That's a typical Tinubu, right?
Yeah.
When the governorship election took place in Anambra State.
He's a strategist. He does what he has to do to get what he has to get.
As one as governor.
Give that to him.
I got convinced that
Tinubu
won the election, and I started to campaign for him.
We always
By then, I held a weekly column in the Vanguard every Tuesday.
Every time I'm in trouble,
Samamuka, the publisher of Vanguard, he gave me the leeway,
my life, so
the license.
That's the kind of person
every week I was writing.
To do that kind of so
the writing should be done.
We got home.
P2B went to court. After 3 years, he won.
He was on the couch
and he went into power, and he achieved a lot there.
Through
EFCC never call him, say, come give account of how you spend the money. Up to next month.
It's okay, make sure you jam the door.
How many governors have got that kind of...
8 p.m. When I got to the hotel, I
flag of support to wave.
What is his depth of mind like?
I had to pay some penalties for that. I did.
Let me tell you about that man.
Femi.
That guy has a multi-track mind.
I can't find that tape. I said this with you.
What are you doing with it? 3 years before he became governor.
Tomorrow, I've changed my flight.
Campaigning for him to win his mandate. That's one point.
I said I'll publish it.
I worked with him for the first 5 of his 80s before I went to the presidency. If P2B tells you to go and buy this book for him,
we ran the story.
He already knows the cost of the book.
It was a story that shook Abacha.
Before he gives you, it may be the money because it's 5,000. He can give you 10,000. I need this book very, very badly. Go and get it.
They were asking me
before you come back. You say, he bought it for 15,000. He might leave yellow, but he knows the cost of the book.
Like a star for doing so.
And Abacha marked you.
If they will quote this, they want to. There was a time we were going to do adverts. Adverts in Anambra State to welcome President Obasanjo. And they quoted figures.
I got that information about 7 and 8 p.m.
He said, we'll continue this meeting tomorrow.
On my way out of Nigeria.
He phoned advert people from Lagos.
Yeah.
They flew in. I went to the airport in Enugu and brought them in.
And you went through the
They brought
Nadeko
receipts of
I went to
advert billboards they posted last year, 2 years ago, 6 months ago, to say that there is not fabricated. And P2B said, look at that. That's the kind of person. If P2B was president of Nigeria, he will not give anybody 90 billion for pilgrimage when people are starving. He will not do
journalism?
that. Not even in his wildest dream.
Yes.
Journalism?
So he's a different...
I was telling my colleague yesterday that
the man Nigeria needs.
When I look back, now
the kind of person Nigeria needs.
Not to see those dangers.
He contested in the presidential election.
Yes, he did.
In 2023.
He did.
With somebody
you were part of that?
Sometimes...
In what sense?
You wrote a biography.
I wrote his biography, yes. Because people were telling lies about him. I said, no, be this man who I know well. Then I sat and I wrote his
Yes.
Can you
so that people will see the truth. I wrote it.
That's what I've told you.
That was a good campaign, right?
Why not?
Those giving you the
Did he win?
Not even only
it was one of our staffs.
I'm a media person. But I was sitting in my village and giving ideas.
A Beninois.
Well,
he won the election in my view.
Is that the
He
Jeshaman?
won?
Oh, yes, in my view, he won.
Mulero.
Fair and
It's
square.
what they now turned to Mulero.
Didn't you see the anomalies of INEC? Didn't you see what their beef-back machines will work for governorship, it won't work for presidential? Didn't you see all the mutilated things? Is that how they contest elections?
Are you saying the election was rigged?
The election was more than the election was suffered a horrendous amputation of truth and fact. That's what I'm saying.
Peter Obi is the president Nigeria is yet to have.
Peter Obi is a president Nigeria could yet have. Yes.
And several others,
They all rode on that same Okada?
They rode on Okada to get to Cotonou.
What do you mean by not that
flying
man?
out?
What do you mean by him?
They couldn't even fly through Cotonou.
Tinubu is not the right man to govern at this time.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the man who won the election is not
intelligence agency not discovered
those people who negative
forces
who had the forces of coercion prevented justice to be done. That's all I said.
The Supreme Court certified Tinubu as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The Supreme Court also said that Nnamdi Kanu should be released.
So the Supreme Court is good.
The Supreme Court is good in what sense?
Nnamdi Kanu should be released.
Fine.
Tinubu won.
That's what they said. That's what
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
The Supreme Court decides,
Stay
and that
tuned.
decision is final. That does not mean that you can't have non-acceptance. It's just that your non-acceptance of a Supreme Court verdict is for your own mind alone.
What does the Igbo man want from Nigeria?
The Igbo man wants to be treated like a human being. The Igbo man wants to have the same basic rights that every other Nigerian enjoys. The Igbo man wants to be in freedom. The Igbo man doesn't want to hear that he cannot vote in Lagos. There are Yoruba and Igbo people in London winning electoral offices, even in the US.
But Igbo people are voting everywhere in Nigeria.
Didn't you see what happened during the last general elections? Didn't you hear about, you live in Ibadan, but didn't you know what was happening in Lagos? Didn't you see officials of this current government saying that they should go back to the East? How can you say people should work? There are millions of Yoruba people in Cote d'Ivoire. At least 5 million. They've been living there since the 30s. Nobody's chasing them away. They participate in every aspect of life. Why should you tell me that I can't live in Lagos? I can't use my money to buy a house in Lagos.
But Igbo people are living in Lagos.
Didn't you hear the clamor for them to leave?
Igbo people are buying houses in Lagos.
Didn't you hear that they've bought up the whole of Lagos Island?
Igbo
as if they force people
are thriving in Lagos till now.
I don't think you are following me.
I'm following you.
You are saying that Igbo people are thriving.
Yes.
It didn't occur to you that they are thriving because of their resilience, in spite of all the adversities put in their way? In spite of all the opposition? Is it not because they know their history, they have their resilience, they know what's in their DNA that they are surviving and thriving?
Do you want an Igbo president?
I want a competent president. That is one question. I do not want a numbskull to become president of Nigeria simply because he's Igbo.
Do numbskulls govern a country?
Yes.
Have they governed Nigeria before?
If Nigeria were otherwise governed, we won't be in this mess that we are today. Look at, we are in a mess now.
Who is a numbskull?
A numbskull is the person who don't get anything inside in brain power. You don't get brain power, that's a numbskull.
And they've been president of Nigeria?
Through time.
Is Peter Obi one of them?
He's never been president of this country.
Is he a numbskull?
No, how could he be? I was his chief of staff when he was governor of Anambra State. The man has grey matter in his head.
Tell me more.
I saw this man for the first time when Ojukwu came to Delta State to campaign for APGA. And I talked to him there, asked him a few questions, and I said, well, let's see how it goes. And I went to him. When the governorship election took place in Anambra State, Ngige was declared winner and sworn in as governor. I got convinced that Peter Obi won the election, and I started to campaign for him. By then, I held a weekly column in the Vanguard every Tuesday. Samamuka, the owner of the publisher of Vanguard, he gave me the leeway, the license. Every week I was writing. The writing should be done. Peter Obi went to court. After 3 years, he won. And he went into power. And he achieved a lot there. EFCC never call him, say, come give account of how you spend the money, up till next tomorrow. How many governors have got that kind of flag of support to wave?
What is his depth of mind like?
Let me tell you about that man. That guy has a multi-track mind. I worked with him for 3 years before he became governor. That is, campaigning for him to win his mandate. That's one point. I worked with him for the first 5 of his 80s before I went to the presidency. If Peter Obi tells you to go and buy this book for him,
to Funsho Adegbola, as she tells us the story of the assassination of Nigeria's former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Bolag. Remember, Bolag was the governor of Oyo State, Old Oyo State, from 1979 to 1983. On December 23rd, 2001, assassins invaded his house and took his life. His daughter, Funsho Adegbola Neige, tells the story.
Assassination shook the whole country.
Yeah.
It's a story I can't forget.
It's a story many people can't.
And you narrated the story in your book.
Yeah.
How you came to the house and met everywhere quiet.
Yeah.
What happened that day?
That day was the day. It was a Sunday. I'll never forget. My birthday is on the 22nd of December. And every year, I write to my parents to thank them. I give them a gift every year. So that 22nd, I'd written a letter to my parents and a card to appreciate them. And then I sent food to them. So the 23rd morning, my dad had gone to Holy Communion. My parents prefer going to Holy Communion. My father grew up as a Catholic, so he likes Mass. He likes anything that is Holy Communion. He doesn't like Matins as much as he loves the Eucharist. So, and he likes to go to church very early. So he had gone to church very early that Sunday morning. He had gone to Holy Communion service at St. Anne's. And then he called me. His older brother had been ill. He was ill in hospital in Lagos. He has his own family. This my dad's brother, my uncle.
You're talking about George Ige.
George Ige.
Bolag was the middle boy.
My father was the middle. George Ige was the oldest boy. Dele Ige was the youngest boy. They have two sisters. One who, the first child, and the one before my dad. There's one between George and my dad. And she's a lady, but the three men were the more prominent ones. So my dad was the middle of the three boys, the three men. And so he called me and he prayed for me like 40 minutes. Funsho, thank you so much. You know, you made me so happy. You make me so proud. I pray your children too will make you happy and make you proud, blah, blah, blah. That I have decided to go to Lagos to go and pick my brother and bring him to hospital in Ibadan. I'm like, Daddy, this man is 70-something. He has grown-up children. His first child is a professor. Why would you go and pick him from Lagos and bring him to Ibadan? He said, you know, most of his children are out of the country. His only son, my cousin Akinge, who actually lives near here, is in Ibadan. So he just thought he and Uncle Dele and Ibadan. And, you know, so they'll bring him, UCH is on strike, so they'll bring him to Oluyoro Catholic Hospital. So he said he was going to Lagos. So I said, okay. The next day, Christmas Eve, they were supposed to go to SRK. And that 23rd was my church, All Saints Jericho's carol service. And my dad really loves my church, especially the choir and the carol service. So he said, oh, I'm going to come to the carol service. As soon as I get back from Lagos, I'll come to the carol service. So I'd gone to see my mom on that 23rd. My dad hadn't come back from Lagos. When we were going to carol service, I stopped by because my parents also live in Bodija. I also live in Bodija. By the time I was going to the carol service, my dad hadn't come. And so my mom was like, okay, I'll wait for him so that both of us will come together. Throughout the carol service, I was looking out. You know, if I see somebody come in, I'll think maybe it was my dad. So throughout the service, my dad didn't come. So I thought, it's unlike my dad. You know, my dad is the kind of person, if he gives a promise, especially to his children, he will try and fulfill that promise. So when I got back I went to my dad's house. And I got to my dad's house with my two kids. My husband didn't go.
That was on the 23rd of December, 2001.
December 2001, about 8 p.m. Just after 8 p.m. So when we got to the house in Bodija, my dad's driver and the policeman and the security detail, they were outside. And the driver was even playing with my daughter. My daughter was like, no, don't play with me because I've trained my children, Nobody will just be touching my daughter's cheek and say, fine girl, you are my wife or you are my girlfriend. No, don't even play with me. So my daughter was not, so I just went straight up. The whole house, there was an eerie silence. Very odd. So my children were like, Grandma. So my son went to the study. I thought my mom was there because in the study there's a bathroom and my mom wasn't there. Grandma, on my dad's side, there are two wings of the house. My mom has one side, my dad has one side. Grandma. Then I heard my mom's voice faintly say, yes. So on my mom's door, the key was outside. So my son was the one who actually opened the door and found that it was locked. So he just undid the key. As he undid the key, Muiwa just leapt out and said, Daddy, I heard a shot. I'm like, what? Because I didn't even go to my dad's side. I was going to my mom's side first and then going to my dad's. Muiwa just ran out.
So they were locked in by the assassins.
The assassins locked my mom, Muiwa's wife, my uncle's wife, who my dad had gone to drop in Catholic Hospital Oluyoro, locked them in my mom's room and went to go and kill my dad. So Muiwa said he heard a shot. He heard shots. I'm like, shots? So anyway, Muiwa ran. And anybody that knows Muiwa knows that Muiwa is fitter than me. He flew. And then I just saw my dad's body on the floor. He was wearing white brocade, buban shokoto. Muiwa too was wearing white buban shokoto. Muiwa, then there was, a gunshot wound to his heart. Muiwa was now doing CPR. So he stuffed the place where and he was doing CPR, put his mouth and was do the CPR, blah, blah, stop one, breathe into his mouth. I just broke down. He said, then I think the houseboy, the steward now came and I started crying. He said, Sister Fucho, don't cry. The steward now said, oh yeah, carry him. Helped carry my dad. He just took the car from the key from the driver, or maybe he had his own car, I don't even know. He just took one car. So I followed him. By the time I got to that housing corporation roundabout, my father lives just off a day. My brother was going at a speed that there was no way that I could match. So he had taken the body. So he had gone. So I now went home because my husband was like, this is the third time you are going to your father's house because I'm very close to my parents. So he decided that he's going to watch TV. So he was watching TV. And then I just came in and I said, Bero, my dad has been shot. I think my dad has been killed. He said, are you crazy? I said, did I lie like that yesterday? I said, somebody just shot my dad. He said, okay, so what are you doing here? I said, I came home to take my ATM card and whatever I have so that if they need money in the hospital. So he said, okay, where is he? I said, we was taking him to Oluyoro. So now, my husband is Miro. He now got into the car. And then as we were going towards Oluyoro, we got to this, from my house, we're about to turn into Awolowo. Then he said, where are the kids? I'm like, which kids? He said, our kids. I totally forgot I took kids to my parents' house. So he said, you know what? Where's mom? I said, mom is in the house with the kids. So he said, okay, I'll go and drop you in the house with the kids. By the time I got to the house with the kids, my mom was on the floor. My children were on the floor outside. And my mom was like, I can't believe it. I can't believe they shot my husband. I can't believe they killed my husband. My children were too, but I can't believe they killed my grandpa. I just got there. So my husband just dropped me. He didn't stop. I said, just go and meet me. We're in the hospital. I just got down. I said, Mom, yeah, get up now. Get up. He said, what? Don't let me get up. I will enter this ground. I said, you will not enter this ground. Mommy said, Bola is alive. I said, he's alive. Oh yeah, Mommy, get up. Be sitting on the floor inside the sand. He's okay. He's okay. said, yes. I said, it's okay. You saw him? I said, yes. Me that I didn't even reach the hospital. I said, I saw him. I said, oh yeah, Kayode, I also did get up. Oh yeah, hold grandma. So I held my sister-in-law, Muiwa's wife. She had curled into the generator room. We didn't even know that was where she was, or the security. She had curled like this, like a fetus. She was just shaking. So I went, I said, oh yeah, get up. Get up, get up. I said, Auntie, did they kill Daddy? I said, no, get up. So I persuaded them. We all went inside. And then a few minutes later, maybe like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, Muiwa came. His whole body too, it was drenched. My uncle was in one room. He had prostate cancer and he actually died the day after my father's funeral in Oluyoro. My dad's dead body, the nurses that were there, my dad had come, giving them money. This is for Christmas. I'm going to Esauki. Tomorrow, when I'm coming on Boxing Day, I'm going to be here. So they all still had the Christmas money my dad had given them when they brought my dad's corpse inside. So they were so shocked.
He had been there earlier.
He had been there like 2 hours before.
When he brought his elder brother.
When he brought his elder brother for admission. And then my husband had gone to tell his younger brother that my dad had been shot. So my husband went to pick my Uncle Dele. So as Uncle Dele got there, he fainted. So there were 3 gay brothers, the dead one, the dying one, and the fainted one. And one of the nurses, my uncle didn't know what was happening. And they said, I think they brought the VIP because there's so much commotion going on. So when he realized that this is the older brother of the person that died, he just said, I think it is Bola. So she just said, another nurse now came in. I said, oh yeah, no, so yeah, come out, So that was how they avoided telling my uncle. But after, I think he was in the news and then he just stopped. My uncle stopped eating from the day after, and he died the day after the funeral. Once his children came and said, we've gone to Esa, we've done this, he just died the next day.
When you got to the house that day and you met the compound code,
yes,
where were his security orderlies? Because at that time he was the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice. Where were the security men that were detailed to take care of him?
Well, I saw 2 of them there. They were there. By the time I came back, they were there.
By the time you came back, they were there?
Yeah, by the time I got there, they were there. But from the countenance of the policeman, I knew because Muiwa wanted to, because they now came to Oluyoro. And my brother was like, where were you when my dad was shot? Where were you? And he was, So to avoid a commotion, I think they took my dad's body into the theater and told Muiwa that they were going to do a surgery so that Muiwa could at least leave the place, because apparently he was so irate. And Muiwa saw a ladder. They were painting for Christmas. Muiwa climbed the ladder so that he could look into the theater to see if indeed they were doing anything to my dad. So I think Muiwa actually went through a lot more, because funny enough, both my mom and my dad, he was the one that carried them to the hospital. And, so it's actually had more damaging effects on him psychologically. And he was, so he went with my dad to Lagos, and he knew that my dad, the excuse they gave was that my dad told them to go and eat. Now, there was food in the house. There were cooks in the house. And they were still going to take my auntie to her son's house in Oluyole Estate. So Muiwa claimed, he was in the car, that my dad never told them to go out to go and eat. But obviously, they knew they were going to come and kill my dad. So I was the unknown factor. Because if I did not come in, they would have been like the heroes and said, we just came and met him. And by the time, we now discovered that by the time I came, they had actually seen my dad's dead body on the floor.
They had seen it.
They had seen
and
it.
Pretended.
And pretended that they didn't see.
So the point is that when the assassins came, Bola's security men were not around.
They said they were not around. They had locked my brother up, so nobody knew if indeed they were there, and they let those ones go in and do their work. But the excuse they gave was that they were not there. That's the excuse.
All of them?
All of them. And then 64 rounds of ammunition was locked up inside a cupboard.
Who locked it up?
The security detail.
So they were not armed when they left?
They were not armed when they left. They were not armed at any time. They did not plan to be armed. They had disarmed themselves. The security detail was actually promoted. He worked in the presidency after my dad was.
We are talking about the Attorney General of the Federation.
Yeah.
At the time.
At the time, yeah. Yeah.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
Dream. So he's a different kettle of fish.
The man Nigeria needs?
The kind of person Nigeria needs.
He contested in the presidential election.
Yes, he did.
In 2023.
He did.
You were part of that?
In what sense?
You wrote a biography.
I wrote his biography, yes. Because people were telling lies about him. I said, no be this man who I know well. Then I sat down and I wrote his story so that people will see the truth. I wrote it.
That was a good campaign, right?
Why not?
Did he win?
Oh, not even only that. I'm a media person, but I was sitting in my village and giving ideas. He won the election in my view.
He won?
Oh, yes, in my view, he won. Fair and square.
How?
Didn't you see the anomalies of INEC? Didn't you see what their bivouac machines will work for governorship, it won't work for presidential? Didn't you see all the mutilated things? Is that how they contest elections?
Are you saying the election was rigged?
The election was more than... The election was suffered a horrendous amputation of truth and fact. That's what I'm saying.
Peter Obi is the president Nigeria is yet to have?
Peter Obi is a president Nigeria could yet have. Yes.
Not Tinubu?
What do you mean by not that man? What do you mean by him?
Tinubu is not the right man to govern at this time?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the man who won the election is not in seat because those people who, negative forces, who had the forces of coercion, prevented justice to be done. That's all I said.
The Supreme Court certified Tinubu as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The Supreme Court also said that Nnamdi Kanu should be released.
So the Supreme Court is good?
The Supreme Court is good in what sense?
Nnamdi Kanu should be released.
Fine.
Tinubu won.
That's what they said. That's what, wait, let me tell you, listen. The Supreme Court decides, and that decision is final.
Mm-hmm.
That does not mean that you can't have non-acceptance. It's just that your non-acceptance of a Supreme Court verdict is for your own mind alone and shouldn't go beyond that. That is what it means. It doesn't mean that the Supreme Court is infallible. After all, the Supreme Court made what's this man's name? This fellow in Imo State. Hope Uzodinma governor. Hope Uzodinma came forth in an election. All the records were there. Hope Uzodinma became governor of Imo State. And he's even still there. Is it not the Supreme Court that decided that? Should I accept it? In my mind, I didn't accept it, but I will not go and carry placard. I will not go and cause dissension or destruction. But you can't force a man what he will believe.
I will not round off this interview without you telling me about Chukwemeka Odumegu Ojukwu. You knew him?
Yes, he was my friend.
You know, the Funsho Adegbola interview is so revealing. You are going to watch more of that interview on my YouTube channel. So subscribe to my YouTube channel because we are going to release more of the interview. You already have about 40 minutes of our interview on that YouTube channel and you cannot listen to everything here. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, Edmondo Bilo. You have Edmondo Bilo too, the one I opened recently. But the Edmondo Bilo one, that's where you will find the Funsho Adegbola interview. So go on that channel. More of her interview will be released on that channel. Then I've also interviewed Bola's son, Muyiwaige. In fact, I had an interview with Muyiwaige yesterday. We had a 2-hour, 20 minutes interview revealing the politics of Bolag inside out. For you to don't listen to that interview, subscribe to my channel. You have to understand Bolag, a philosopher king. But let me give you more of Funsho Adegbola before I go.
Muyiwa was there when the assassins came.
Yeah, Muyiwa was there when the
How many of them came in?
I don't know, but Muyiwa said he recognized, because during the court proceedings, he actually recognized one of them who was not locked up, and he identified the person. But like now, the states themselves, they proclaimed a nolli prosequi, that there was nothing to prosecute, so they left them. Everybody's free. Nobody's been jailed or anything for Bolag's murder.
Your mom wanted to see justice.
My mom wanted to see justice because she's a judge and I'm a lawyer, and so it's a criminal matter, so it's the state versus the defendants. We, as his children, could only give the supports that we saw the government needed, and that was to give our testimony. So my brother was giving his testimony, and my mom would follow us to court. And then the main prosecution witness, who was the security guard in my father's house, he was put in the next door cell or something to the people who did it. And obviously they must have told him they were going to kill his parents or something. So when he went to court, he denied everything that he said. My mom died the next morning.
Your mom could not take it?
My mom just said, I can't believe it, that this justice system that she and her husband worked for, my dad as a lawyer, she as a judge, that when Sugaba's case was on in Maiduguri, my dad, they wanted to excommunicate him, say that he's not a Nigerian, that he's a foreigner. But my dad did pro bono and went to Maiduguri to go and defend Shugaba when they wanted to send him out of Nigeria, excommunicate him from Nigeria. It was my dad, and so my mom was like, Bola that will fight for any other person's rights. So they will now kill him like this. And then, she told Muiwa that she wasn't feeling well. That day, the day before, 9th of April, I was in my school. Muiwa went to Lagos for a meeting. Then my sister-in-law, Muiwa's wife, called me that my mom wasn't feeling very well. So I left my office. I went to her. And when I got there, my dad's doctor was Wale Okejiro, so he came. We called him. He came to take blood samples from my mom. And he said that, there was element of malaria. So he started her on anti-malaria tablets. And so I stayed with her. She took her anti-malaria. She had lunch. I stayed with her. She had her dinner. Muiwa came back from Lagos. He had even gotten to Lagos, to the place where he went for his meeting. And when he went upstairs, but he was supposed to go upstairs for his meeting, his wife called him that my mom wasn't feeling well and that he had called me, she had called me, and that I was with my mom. What would my brother do? He now called the people upstairs that, okay, I'm sorry, I'm downstairs, but I'm not even going to come upstairs because I've just been told my mom has malaria and I'm going back to Ibadan. And those people say, are you out of your mind? You are here for a job worth millions of naira. Are you a doctor that you are going back to Ibadan? He said, no, because there's no way I can even have a meeting. My mind is... So my brother came back to Ibadan without his meeting. And my mom was just like, she just said, okay, it's just the two of us. So she said, that even though she's lost my brother, that these two children, she started praying for us, that if she says she wants one thing in the morning, by the evening she has 6, for sure we bring 4, we bring 2, that, she's really blessed, she's really this, God will bless us. So I said, amen. We all started praying because Muiwa had moved in to my dad's house from the day my dad was killed. He and his family now lived with my mom. So, and we always tease my mom that Muiwa is her favorite because he's the last child. And my mom never used to say no, that Muiwa is not her favorite. Everybody knew that Muiwa is her favorite. So, and when people would say that I'm my dad's favorite, my mom would not say anything too. So we had my middle brother, today is the brother, we say, me, I'm everybody's favorite. He doesn't want to be anybody's favorite. Both his parents are his favorites. So we used to kid that Muiwa's mommy's handbag because everywhere my mom went, Muiwa followed. So Muiwa was very close to my mom. So after my dad died, we had a meeting, Mom, you're going to live long so you can enjoy all the things that all the hardships my dad has put you through, the detentions, everything. This is your time to enjoy with your grandchildren. We had gotten married. We didn't know my mom was going to die 16 months later. So overnight, my mom just ruptured a vein behind her eye. And she too just died. She too died on a Thursday morning, April the 10th, 2003.
Yeah. So
that was the most devastating thing for Muiwa and I. Muiwa was just like, how? We just lost our dad. We just did the 1-year anniversary. They now killed our mom. As far as it's concerned, these are two people. They've got blood on their hands. So, why am I even saying amen to that? They are saying we have become orphans. Do I know what that means? I said, okay, what are we going to do now? They are both dead now. So he was like, no, he's not accepting it. He can't even accept my dad's own. He's not accepting my mom's own. So it was very, very traumatic because, now with hindsight, I'm the only one that turned 40 with my parents alive. By the time my dad died the day after I turned 41. My brother died 6 weeks to his 31st birthday. Muiwa was only 33 when my parents died. So it's been tough. on him more than me.
So when the principal witness recounted, Mom knew it was over.
My mom knew it was over.
And the principal witness was the gate man of the house.
It was the guard. It was our own private security. It was not the one by the government.
And so he's the one that Bola again employed.
Yes, yes.
So he's known to the house. Yes. He's like a member of the family.
Yes.
And he
even though he came from a security company.
Okay.
But it was the family that pays him, and the security company later said that it was because the people the defendants were putting pressure on him, and they said they were going to kill his family, and if he stuck with his story. So the poor guy recanted.
What was his initial story?
His initial story is that he saw these people come in, and then he now got to...
I was able to identify them?
Yeah. At least he was able to say that my dad's security details were not there, and that some people had come in, and then when my driver... And then had said that I had come back. You know, there was no eating place around there. My dad... Between the time my dad was killed and I came in was 17 minutes. So my dad's security people didn't go far, if indeed they went anywhere. So, and there's no way that if anybody from their countenance, but funny enough, the security man, the security detail that was promoted after my dad's, he's now dead. When I saw that he died, I said to my brother, I said, so this man can die? He thought that they would never die, you know. So it was very sad, because all the people, my dad was the kind of person, you know, people that worked for him, who would send their kids to university, who send their kids to school. You know, this particular security detail, when he bought his car, my friend bought 5 brand new tires for him. So there are people that we knew. And I know that, you know, in my short life, before there's external aggression, there must be internal collusion. So they were the weak links.
Do you think it's political murder?
Oh, yeah. Kola Abiola, when it happened, he said, Sis Muiwa, it's got all the fingerprints of the state on it.
The fingerprints of the state.
He said it's state murder.
In this book, you mentioned that at some point your dad had submitted his letter of resignation.
Yes.
To Obasanjo?
Yes.
Obasanjo refused to accept the letter of resignation.
Well, he accepted it, but he's told my dad that he wasn't going to let him go. But my dad said he wanted to go and rally up the progressives, and then he had gotten this appointment in the International Court of Justice in The Hague. So he was going to do that in the new year. My mom, we had been to Abuja. My mom had been given the OFR on the 18th of December. So it was on the 19th of December that my dad handed in his resignation.
For more on the Funsho Bola interview, visit my YouTube channel. Wow, that's the story of the assassination of Bola, at the time Nigeria's Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation. That's the story. 2001, 23 years ago. The story is still fresh. All right, next week is another time on State Affairs. Thank you for being there. I am Edmondo Bilo. I wish you well.